Good morning, everybody. Good morning and very warm welcome to our webinar about employer branding. Bună ziua, bine ați venit here in Bukarest, in our office in Bukarest. We're very warm welcome here to a webinar about employer branding. The topic of today will be finding and retaining talents. Which way can you find talents in Romania? Which way will you be able to retain them so they don't go off to your competition? It's a hot topic right now in Romania as unemployment is getting pretty low in certain regions like in Sibiu, Hermannstadt. Unemployment is at 0.5%, so it's a big fight for talent right now. And we thought that employer branding seems to be a very important part about that. So we're very happy to have the speakers with us today. But I might give a short introduction to everybody, also over the internet, about the webinar today, how it's going to work. Very warm welcome to Austria, to all our video watchers, so to say, over the internet with the webinar. You have a panel in front of you. Everybody's already logged in. On the panel in front of you, you can choose the presentation or the web cameras that you want to see. We have a close-up and we have the total web camera. And what you will also see there is you will have a panel to ask questions. So everybody from Austria, please feel free to ask us the questions right away. We will see the questions and we will put the questions into our presentation today. Just as information for the Austrian viewers via the internet, we also do have live audience with us today. So also the live audience might come up with a question. It's not only the speakers here, we have the studio set up with live audience. So about the webinar today, hot topic, we will broadcast this webinar right now. It's going to be recorded for YouTube. It's going to be on our channel afterwards, on the Advantage Austria channel on YouTube. So you will be able to watch the webinar also there. I'm very happy to have with me 3 high-profile speakers today in the beginning. And after 1 hour, we'll add a 4th speaker with us. To my left-hand side, I do have Ms. Simona Albulescu. Ms. Simona Albulescu is the Human Resource Director of Porsche Romania. So she is responsible for all the human resource issues of Porsche Romania, of Porsche Interauto, Porsche Leasing. So several companies that you're working with. You have a high number of employees. You have a lot of issues and a lot of information for us about how is it going to work in an Austrian subsidiary, in a Romanian company, which is a subsidiary of an Austrian and German company, so to say. So you can tell us a lot about the cultural clashes and the differences in between Austria and Romania. On my right-hand side, I do have with me Raluca Ene. Raluca Ene is Managing Director and Partner with Chapter 4. Chapter 4 is a PR agency. So if anyone asks himself right now, why do we have someone from a PR agency here? Don't we have enough PR for our webinar? It's actually about one of the topics that you're handling in your PR agency. It's employer branding. So you do internal and external employer branding for customers here in Romania. And we already had months ago very, very interesting discussions about what you're doing in terms of employer branding, internal, external. What are the findings? What are the measures? And what are the results? So we're going to have, we're looking forward to a nice presentation with you here as well. And I do have with me another gentleman, Mr. Clemens Versonik. He's the CEO of Target Executive Group, Target Executive Search. And Mr. Clemens Versonik is a professional in executive search, but is also a professional into Eastern Europe. Mr. Versonik started already before the opening up of Eastern Europe in Hungary. As I understood, you're speaking Hungarian, so Jonapot Kívánok to you. You started up in Hungary, but Target Executive Search is now all over Eastern Europe with us. And you had some very interesting findings in a kind of a management study that you've done. And I guess you're absolutely qualified to talk about a management study, because as we understand, you already interviewed about 20,000 managers all over Eastern Europe, and you recruited more than 500 managers by now. You have been active for nearly 30 years in Eastern Europe, and you have been active for 20 years in Romania. So long time here. And to all our viewers, we will ask Mr. Versonik now for a keynote speech to start up with a keynote speech.
Thank you. Yeah, so we did an expatriate study, which means we asked 1,000 expatriates across Central Europe, and the topic was, can Central and Eastern European management compete And for us, of course, the question is how good are Romanian managers compared to the other Central European managers? The answer from a headhunter to this question, can Romanian managers compete, is definitely yes. And Romania is much better than you think. So just one slide about targets. So we do headhunting across Central Europe since 23 years, present in 7 countries. And in Romania since 20 years. Now we did this study twice, once in 2009 and then a repeat study in 2015. Here on the first slide you have the results from the 2009. So on the left side we asked, or we got answers from more than 1,000 expatriates living in Central Europe. We also had a local control group and 44 questions were asked. And by the way, as you see from the link, there's a free download from our website where you can then look at all the details. And in the first study, Poland won, Slovakia was second, Czech Republic, Romania came on 4th place, Hungary and Bulgaria. Then in 2015, we repeated the study. We had a bit less answers, but still almost 1,000 expatriates again, and different expatriates, because it was 5-6 years later. And in the results in the second study was that Romania actually moved to the 2nd place. So it was a steep increase for Romania, right after Poland. Now, how does this study work? If you will check it later on the website, we always have statements on the top. So a statement, for example, I enjoy working here. And the more you see green, the more agreement is with that statement. And if it's red, the more disagreement. So here, I enjoy working here is very green for Romania. Actually, so Romania is winning in that for that question. So expatriates prefer to work in Romania from all Central European countries. I will now go through several of these statements to give you a quick overview. Bureaucracy is not a serious problem here. And so there's big red everywhere, which means it is a problem. And it is the biggest problem in Romania from all the countries. So there's really the dark point of this study. While Romania in general comes out quite well, but bureaucracy is a serious problem. The business environment here is very active and dynamic. Poland is winning in this question, but Romania is also doing quite well. And on the right side, the green circle shows you the comparison between the 2 studies, 2009 and 2015. So if it's, in this case for Romania, it is less dynamic in the 2nd round of the study. Deadlines are taken seriously here. Again, for Romania, the answer is no. So there's an issue with deadlines. So we had bureaucracy and deadlines as negative points so far. It is important here to form friendships with colleagues and customers. Highest score in Romania. So it's very important in Romania to make good relationships, friendships with customers and colleagues. Managers here prefer to work in a planned manner. The answer for Romania is no. So planning is not a strong point, always compared to the other Central European managers. And just once again to keep in mind, we asked expatriates from all over the world working in Central Europe, what do they think? Managers in this country tend to be excellent at selling. Here, Romania is winning. So the best salespeople are actually in Romania. Local managers are good at dealing with overseas customers and colleagues. Again, Romania winning. So throughout this study, we will see that for interpersonal skills, Romania is the best, and that is reflected in the sales part, that they are the best salespeople. Local managers are experienced in working together with foreigners. Again, very, very high score for Romania, positive score. Foreign language knowledge, best again for Romania, by far the best. And that reflects that they are good with foreigners. Ambitious managers are admired. Again, very high score for Romania. And as you see, there's a lot of high score for Romania. So from the total of 47 questions, about 1/3 Romania is winning. Here, so ambition in management is an important issue. Corruption, that is the other dark point next to bureaucracy. So corruption there, Romania scores very badly together with Bulgaria. It is easy to find well-trained managers in this country. The answer overall is no. So it's difficult, and it's getting more and more difficult, and that's actually the topic for us. How do we find good people? How do we keep them? We could recruit better managers if we pay them more. The answer is kind of mixed. So it's not a salary issue. That's interesting. Humor is important in working relationships in this country. In Romania, this is the most important. So Romanians have a good sense of humor, even in the working world. In this country, business and commerce are strongly customer service oriented. Again, no. So this is a negative across the region. Customer service is an issue to develop. On the whole, women in CE tend to be more effective managers than men. Here we have a strong agreement across the region. So women are better managers, and most of them in Romania, together with Bulgaria, but still Romania. So in Romanian, women, female managers are better than men. This is what expatriates tell us, and the expatriates are typically men. Then here I have highlighted some quotes. In this study, you also find quotes of the managers. Again, the corruption is here highlighted by an American expert as a problem. On the other hand, many quotes from managers, full of young, talented managers. Romania much better than you think. It's a Belgian expatriate saying that. Romanian managers are talented, ambitious, dynamic, optimistic. So there's, on the people side, very, very positive. So actually, and this I think was the last quote, yes. Summary for CE. Summary, the good news is, as you can see, overall, CE managers work hard and are ambitious. Foreigners enjoy to live here and work here, strong interpersonal skills, good personal relationships, especially in Romania. Then the women are more effective managers than men, and managers place much value on the company they work for, but do not like to work in a planned manner. The bad news overall, bureaucracy and corruption. Not the missing customer orientation, the customer service. And hierarchies tend to be formal. Managers do not like to take initiative in preventing and solving problems, and not so much strategic view. Romanian summary, so excellent in interpersonal skills, best in sales, best with language skills and international mind, worst in bureaucracy and corruption, most ambitious, bad with deadlines, good humor, and women are better managers. And this is the last slide. So my personal conclusion, we did this study twice over a period of 6 years, and actually there was little change, little improvement, so quite a stable situation, even though we asked overall 2,000 expatriates and different ones in the two circles, because expatriates also rotate. So the results were quite similar. Then the women factor, the female factor is really interesting. Bureaucracy, corruption, customer service, and overall Romania is much better than you think. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Mr. Vesoni. There was a very strong improvement in terms of the ranking of Romania.
Yes.
Why do you see that improvement? As you said, the results were not completely different from before. Was it the other countries getting lower marks, or what was the improvement itself, the reason for the improvement?
Well, I think, yeah, it has, in the CE context, Hungary definitely, Hungary swapped places with Romania, so Hungary definitely went down, Romania went up. due to, we know, the political situation in Hungary changed. It's not so much investor-friendly anymore.
So how much is factual behind it and how much is perception actually?
I think in business in general, there's always a lot of perception. So if managers have the perception that it's a good business environment where it's nice to be and it's a high place to go, then they will go. So I think it's a lot of business decisions, investment decisions are based on image, on personal well-being, because managers need to be sent there with their families. They need to feel well. The kids need to have good schools, etc. So I think there's more perception.
All right, because this is an interesting topic that we had. We did a business survey with the Austrian subsidiaries in Romania, and the business survey showed that only half of the companies think that Romania is going to develop very well in 2017, but more than 90% of the Austrian subsidiaries think that they themselves will develop well or very well. So we also think that this must be some kind of image and perception issue and not that much factual. But you had one other interesting fact in your presentation, and I would like to hand over to you, as I know the general managers of your companies. They're all male. So if Mr. Versonik says that the study and the result of the experts is actually that women are better managers in Romania, does that also reflect within your company, within the Porsche companies in Romania? And what is your view on the topic?
For sure, as women, I totally agree with this statement. It's obviously, but as you all know, Porsche Romania is a company active in the automotive field. Actually, the important #1 on the Romanian market. And at Porsche, there are not so many women in managerial position and also in execution position. About 25–30% of the employee are women. The others are men. Actually, automotive is a world for men. Yeah. But I agree with your statement, because women are for sure very conscious. They are very willing to show in Romania now their position. And this is not a feminist point of view. My statement is connected to the reality, because our women managers at Porsche are really doing very good business.
All right. I have to say one thing. I've been here for 7–8 months by now, and my perception is exactly the same. The position of women within the companies and within the management is much stronger, and also the kind of results that you see from women is much stronger here than it's actually in Austria. But there's a topic behind what we're talking about. So we saw some basic facts about management or managerial skills in Romania, some basic facts about the position of women within the management. But actually, what is the reason why does an employee, or why does a future employee, so to say, why does a candidate actually join a company? What are the reasons behind for joining a company, Mr. Versonik?
Yeah. Well, for joining a company, definitely the image of the company. So there are admired companies, if you think about Apple or Google, so on an international scale, but in every country you have companies that have a very good image, so a good employer branding. So that is necessary to attract people. But then for a headhunter, we do actually the opposite. We try to hunt away people. And why do people still leave great companies? In most of the cases, in 80% of the cases, they don't leave the company, they leave their boss. So they leave the current boss. They're not happy with how they are, the feedback, the management, etc. So that is really the issue.
So to sum it up, you join the company for the image of the company, you leave the company for your direct boss.
Yes. Yes.
Well, that's good to know. That's good to know. Do you think that for joining the company, employer branding could be an important issue, or do you think it's an important issue?
Yeah, for sure. And it's getting more and more important as the competition for good, very skilled employers is growing every day. So therefore, it's very good to have a strong company image, and not only external but also internal. And by internal image, we mean taking a closer look to how people form a community inside the team of the company as a whole. It's not only departments, it's not only small teams, but it's the entire company that needs to feel that they are the same, they are playing in the same team. So this is extremely important to do. And as years pass by, and especially in the past year, what we felt as communicators was a higher and higher interest from the company side to look deeper into what they can do in order to increase this community feeling inside the company on the one hand, and on the other hand, how to sort of take out the spirit that's formed within the company outside, so that the people that are interested in joining or might be interested in joining the respective company to get a glimpse of what they can find inside the company. And this is a very tricky part, let's say, of the business, because it's really important, the channels that you use and the tone of voice that you use and the way that you do this passing from the inside to the outside.
So do you think that employer branding is something for, you know, the Porsches, or as an Austrian subsidiary in CBO told me, you know, as soon as Mercedes-Benz, Daimler opens up a new factory, they come in and everybody wants to join Mercedes. So is employer branding and the image that they can give only related to a name like Porsche, which everybody, you know, connects to a sports car, to one of the best cars in the world? Or do you think that employer branding also can be applied to smaller companies and not that well-known reputations and names?
I can give you a very good example of one of our customers, Ixia Romania. They're doing testing for internet networking. It's a very well-known name within the community of programmers, but not such a very well-known name for the general public, as for example Oracle or Amazon or big names within the IT world. So, and it's very important for them, as they have a research center in Romania, to not only recruit but retain the best programmers that they can find. So you see, when a company like Oracle announces that they're going to open up a center of 200 people in Bukarest, then that's going to be quite a rumor within the company. They're coming with high salaries because they know that it's very hard to find good programmers, and they know the brand that they have. So these are very strong arguments for them to come to Ixia for best people to take. What Ixia did, and it's not something that you do in crisis times, meaning when the company announces that the competition announced that they come, but before time, all the time, is to strengthen as much as possible the community inside, to push a lot on recognizing and increasing visibility of specialists within the company, so that they feel that their work is really, really valued, in the same time with keeping up as much as possible with the salaries at the market level, so that when a competitor of this side comes into the market, to be harder for them to attract good people from the inside. So this is a continuous work with the team, again, firstly from the inside, to strengthen the relationships within the company and to keep them. Of course, they had people that went to the competition. The interesting part is that due to the same effort that they put in growing the community inside, after a while, people came back. Yeah. Because they couldn't find the same environment, the same respect, the same values that they had with Ixia. So this is, again, a very important thing to pay attention to while growing your internal community.
Thanks very much for that statement. Very interesting statement. I just want to pose one question to all our viewers from Austria over the internet. If the voices are not loud enough, please, via your question panel, just give us a response that we have to speak a bit louder. Thanks very much for that. But now, coming about an example from a company like Ixia, which I did not know before my discussions with Raluca. So more or less, is it enough to be called Porsche? Is Porsche the brand name enough to attract the people, or is employer branding also an issue within your company?
For sure, employer branding is an issue for every company, and for sure also a brand like, or a name like Porsche is a strong attraction tool. But also for us, it's harder and harder to find very high skilled people. And based on my experience, 15 years since I work for Porsche, I observed that the reasons for the employees to choose an organization changed during this period. When 5 years ago, the most important motivators for employees to choose a company were salary or benefits, today the criteria number one is culture. They are aiming to a perfect fit into the organization, and here for sure employer branding is a powerful tool. And in 5 years from now on, for sure the workplace flexibility, will be the most important issue. And here,
which is something that you have to communicate to the outside as well.
Yes, we have to communicate it, and I'm sure that flexibility is not addressing only time and location. It's beyond this. It's addressing actually the very nature of the relationship between employers and employee. And here also a strong and authentic employer branding would help very much.
Yeah, I think this the issue of being authentic is really the key issue.
Yeah.
So it is one side to have a nice image, video, or messages, etc. But the other side to have really that reality in the company inside. And in today's world, the information is so fluid through social networks, so it's quick that information comes around to the community at large. And so it must be authentic.
Yeah. What I would add, just if you allow me one mention, if I would add, and it starts with the leadership. It starts with the management, because if the management understands their role from this point, their role in building the culture, then everything is much more easy to address at the entire corporate level.
All right. You already mentioned one point that is very interesting for me. Porsche Romania, we're talking to a company with how many employees do you have right now?
Together, all the 8 companies in the group, we are about 900. 8
companies, one group, 900 employees.
Yeah.
Can you give me a split up in between managers, white collar workers and blue collar workers about just something like, is it?
Yeah, there are differences because at Porsche Interauto, our retail company, the majority of the staff is filled by blue collars, and for sure at the General Importer and the Porsche Finance Group, the white collars are predominant.
All right. So is employer branding something that you're doing for managers? Is it something that you do for the white collar workers, or does it apply to the blue collar workers as well?
Yeah, we address all these target groups differently, and we have targeted programs for in each direction. So we established partnerships with universities and also with a German colleague in Bukarest, Goethe colleague, in order to show to students that also in Romania they have a good choice to find companies where they can work, and they should not only have the intention to go abroad.
Yeah. So let's call it this way. I guess Ixia is not a perfect example for a blue collar company. You have all white collar people, you have all academics. What do you think? How would employer branding apply on blue collar workers? Would it work? How could you reach them?
It would definitely work. It all goes down to how you translate some principles, some channels, some tools to the specifics of the people that you hire. So starting with authenticity, starting with knowing people that you want to hire, but knowing them from where they live and how they interact in their social life and how they interact within their teams at work. You can build a way of finding creative activities or interesting ideas, how to connect them and how to make them a more cohesive team from the inside and from the outside, explaining to them from their perspective the benefits of working in this or that place, but from their perspective. This is a very important thing to do. We usually, as companies, as corporations, we know our objectives. We know what we have to do, we know what we have to hire, we have numbers, we have things to check. But we sometimes, most often unfortunately, forget about their perspective. What's in it for them? Is it a good job only? Is it a good salary only? Or is it about security? Or is it about protecting their families? Or each one of them has their own way of looking at a job. What companies should do in order to attract those people is to look at exactly this perspective and try to answer to this perspective. They're going to discover that it needs a little bit of education. Or a little bit of working with the community outside the company before attracting them within the company. It's not an easy job. It's not anymore about just putting an announcement that you hire. Not anymore, because you're going to have the surprise of people not coming. But it's about the company stepping down from their high place as an employer and going to the communities, inside the communities, and getting to know those people and try to answer to their needs. And this is more and more important as the competition for the human resources is higher.
All right, so you say that companies should step down from the ivory tower a bit.
Exactly.
Should get on eye level with the ones who they want to employ, and that they should also apply a bit of empathy with that.
Exactly.
Would you agree to that, especially on a managerial level? Are you also assisting companies, because you do target executive search? So are you also hiring blue-collar workers? Are you assisting companies also in that field?
Not yet, I would say, but the demand for blue-collar workers is so increasing, and the pressure is increasing on the market. So our clients, we find managers for them, say, can you help us with blue-collar? So we try to find solutions. In my opinion, for blue-collar workers, the main issue is still salary. So I think it is a salary issue, because on the Maslow pyramid, they are not yet in the self-fulfillment phase. For them, the basics of life, food, and housing, etc.
What is the response that you're actually getting from managers that you try to hire for a company? What is the most important factor for them to join a company?
Yeah. Well, for managers, it's not salary at all. And we even have managers who are willing to go for less salary. So for them, it is how is the boss, how is the respect. So the things that you mentioned, I find these are very true for management level, just that they are not on ivory towers, and that they treat their employees as partners on the same eye level.
Maybe also development perspectives, so to say, for the company and as well as for their own position.
Yes, yes. Yeah.
Ms. Albulescu, if I may ask you, employer branding, we spoke about it before the panel discussion, and you told me that you're doing a lot in employer branding, so it is not that you can use your name of Porsche and the reputation of Porsche will bring the people to you and they're flocking into your company, but what channels are you actually using? Which way do you address the people, the candidates that you want to have as future employees?
We are taking this action concentrating in two directions internally for the own employees, to different motivational programs, because we believe that our employees are actually our best ambassadors to the market. And here we have a lot of measures, but I would emphasize or underline the idea not to follow hot trends on the industry, actually to put in place measures that are really fitting your organization, which are adapted to your organizational profile or to the profile of the staff. And externally, here we have, I believe, potential for improvement, but we started 7 years ago to have partnerships with universities, as I told you, with ASE and with the Polytechnical University in Bukarest, because here are actually the target groups of our future employees. And we try to arrange different interesting programs for the students as the best pipeline for Porsche Romania. And now, since 2 months, we started a new program called Starting Carriera, with a Polytechnical University, where we teach the students how to make a personal pitch, how to make a group presentation, how to prepare the CVs, what are the future work skills. So to prepare them for the real life and the real business. Yep. And I believe this is also a measure who can help our employer brand.
Thank you very much. Just to the audience in Austria again, you got a panel there. You can write questions to us. We will see the questions on the monitor opposite of us, so we can react to questions that you have right away. Please feel free to put them in. I just would like to give a short explanation. We've done in March, end of February and March, we've done a survey within the Austrian companies. We have some representatives of companies here who have responded to us. We have one representative of a company here who responded to us. And we actually asked about dual education. Do you have a need for dual education? Do you have a need for apprentices? Where do you need the apprentices? Which professions and how many? And the results that we had was overwhelming. So the Austrian companies, being about 1,500 operative companies in Romania, with about 100,000 direct employees, are asking. We only spoke to 60 to 70 companies. They're asking for about 1,000 apprentices every year. So we are setting up a program right now, how to find those apprentices, how to find the children, how to attract them to our programs. And this is a question that I would like to hand over to you, Raluca. You're doing the employer branding for one of the companies here. What channels do you use? And maybe a special question to you, because we're cooperating on one topic. What is the role of social media in this communication to future employees, so to say, to candidates?
Okay, so first of all, I would start by saying that there is no one size fits all. And this is very important, as we heard earlier. It is very important to personalize the tools that we're using to the company's specifics and objectives as well. I'm coming back to the IKEA example just for the sake of having a broader picture of how we're doing, how the thinking process goes. For example, the main sources of recruitment for them are the universities as well, but also the programmers community overall. Programmers have a special profile as workers, let's say. They have their own groups, they have specialities that they work with, and they organize events by themselves. So in order for IKEA to be there and get its brand known through them, it has to be there. Lots of educational programs with the polytechnics are in place. There are also collaborations with the student societies, which are quite many and quite representative within the polytechnics. In the same time, supporting people's programmers' events, hackathons, for example, which are a special kind of event that they're organizing, or competitions. or all sorts of gatherings that they're using to stay within this community. They're not doing it in a, let's say, a strong branded way, and this is very important for the programmers community because they're very sensitive to pushing to them a brand, but they're doing it in a very friendly and particular way. They just they use their employees. They ask their employees to be ambassadors. Again, it's the same principle.
Yeah.
To be ambassadors for the company and join those competitions, those hackathons, those events, in order to be part of those communities, and thus by letting others know them and the way they feel about the place they work, to get a feel of the company from within. This way, it's much easier, and the HR manager from Ixia just told me, it's the recruitment process got much more easy for the company because people already come to the knowledge of the company from the inside. They come to the recommendation with the recommendation from the employees. They come already with an open heart, let's say, to see how they can cope with the company's offer. So these are very important ways. The direct channels are very important for building a good employer branding. In the same time, external communication such as media relations, social media, to get to your question, they are also great channels to use in order to build a general awareness about the company. It's very important for people to say, oh, I heard about you, or I heard this and that about you. When it comes to recruitment, it gets much easier for the recruiter to present him or herself from this perspective, because it's already an open gate.
So what you're saying is actually it's not that much about advertising.
No, not
building,
at all.
Building a brand reputation is much more relationship management.
Exactly. And this is the future, from my perspective. This is the future of recruitment for the next year.
Yeah, I would like to add that some companies have what is called a buddy program, which is actually the development of what you just described. So basically, the company tells their people, if you bring your buddies to join, your friends to join, then we will pay you money. So instead of paying a recruitment company, they're giving a bonus to the colleagues who bring a friend into the company. And usually it's even with success fee. So there's one part payment when the guy joins, and there's a second part after probation period if the guy is still there and performing well.
Yeah. Do you have in Porsche Romania, do you actually have such a buddy system, or do you have anything which we could call afterwards if we're in the daily life? I don't know, a mentoring system, is this in place with you?
Actually, what we are using, it's an internal job advertising system, because as I told you, we are 8 companies and we have 900 employees, and therefore we find that our employees should be the first to hear about a new position or a possibility for promotion. And not only for our employees to address this position, but also recommendation for them are very valued. And this is what we are doing now.
All right. Let's stay with Porsche Romania. We talk in business, we usually talk about management and we talk about leadership. That's the 2 big factors. We Austrians tend to be strong on the management side. Where do you have to be strong in Romania? Is leadership an important part with the Romanians?
Yes, I believe that leadership is an important issue in Romania, because Romanians, in my opinion, are not so easy to lead. Because in Romania, everybody wants to become a manager or a leader, and this is a part of our culture. And therefore, also, I come back to this terminus authentic. Really authentic leader has the possibility to be very credible and to be followed by the others.
I had a discussion about 2-3 weeks ago with Raluca, and we came up with the wording of the social CEO, so to say that the CEO has to be, with a lot of empathy, has to be very social. Do you think that the way that your managers treat, especially blue-collar workers, has a big impact on the rate of retaining of the people? And how much is, so to say, not related to the job, but how much is related to the work atmosphere or to any kind of additional, I don't know, let's say the Christmas party? How much influence does this have in Romania, and do you see that it has more influence than in Austria?
First of all, I believe that a retention policy should be aligned with general business policy, and here the general managers should sustain this. And here is a big discussion, because why some companies are successful or the others not, what the successful companies are doing different. And I believe the difference is related to their employees and their clients. And also employees and clients are humans, and humans are first of all emotional, and after that rational. Therefore, I believe leadership and addressing correctly and authentically their emotion and binding them to the company could be a success story. But not only this, also at Porsche we are really social oriented, and we try to offer to our employees a fair and respectful and competitive and workplace where common sense is at home. And we are doing also a lot of other activities, like you said, all these Christmas parties or team buildings or fruit days or fitness programs, which for sure are helping our employees to feel better in our company, to create strong company culture. Why? Because I firmly believe that a strong company culture is hard to leave.
That's very interesting. I arrived here and I met a lot of Austrian companies and Austrian subsidiaries. And I spoke to one subsidiary who told me that if, as I mentioned before, if Mercedes comes in, they pay 40% more, and then everybody wants to leave to Mercedes, and a third of my staff is leaving for Mercedes. And that led me to the situation to talk to one of the top managers of Mercedes in one of their factories. And I asked him, and I said, see, what I hear is you pay more. Is that correct? Is that your view as well? And he said, no, we're at the pay level. We're at the same level than all the other companies in Romania. But you can't imagine, I've never seen, and he's an Austrian, he said, I've never seen, I've worked in South America, I've worked in Europe, North America, in different countries. Now I'm in Romania, and I've never seen a Christmas party like here. He said, if you don't do it, your people will leave. So that was what he said. Very interesting part. Let's talk about another issue. Times are changing, and we talked about social media already. If we talk about the channels, how do you attract the candidates? What's the importance of e-channels nowadays, of, I don't know, e-websites, or also of SAP tools that allow some e-recruitment? How would you see that, the change over time and the influence right now and the importance?
It's very important. The online recruitment, e-recruitment is very important. And I think as candidates, the more channels you use, the better. So you can only win if you use LinkedIn and Xing, and but also companies own, like SAP has, for example, their own websites where you apply, and Romanians do it. So it's a tool that you have to grasp and you have to use, and I think it's just can increase your chances.
If we talk about that, Chapter 4 PR agency, you're a lot into social media. We're doing a social media program for recruiting students for our dual education programs. Do you think that it is only a channel, or is it also a media, social media, a media for employer branding, for building up your brand and reputation?
It's definitely one of the most important ones for employer branding, but there is something really, really important here. It depends a lot on the people that you want to hire and their access to what channel. because if they're not connected to the internet, having a great Facebook page wouldn't help. So adequacy is really, really important. Therefore, in order to build a strong employer branding, apart from starting from within, you have to look to the people that you want to hire, where are their channels of communication, and go towards those channels. Are they active in social media? Then you have to be there. Are they active on LinkedIn, for example, for management? Most of the managers are there already. You must be there one way or another. And there are very smart ways to be there and to be attractive as an employer for managers on LinkedIn. It's a strong tool to use in Romania. But then again, if people are not connected to the internet, then you go there within their communities, organize events, present yourself in a way that they can get a grasp of how your team is directly, because this is the way they get convinced. So it's the adequacy to the people that you want to hire is really, really important.
Thank you very much. So as we're getting closer to the end of our webinar right now, I would also like just to throw one time into our audience, which we have live here with us. If you have any questions that you think that could contribute highly now to the presentation, also to our Austrian viewers via the internet, please think about it quickly. If it's a brief and precise question, it's even better for me, because I will have to rephrase it because of the microphone which is in front of us. But we already have now, for I guess the third time, the question that's coming in from our internet viewers. We have the third time a question coming in about how is it to find blue-collar workers? What channels do you use? What channels are most successful? And what were the latest developments in the way that you're looking for blue-collar workers in Romania?
Actually, we are trying to find blue-collar workers through the partnership with professional schools, yeah, and also to recommendation from our own employees. And there is a very eccentric need for skilled blue workers, because the latest development in technologies, yes, will brand new job categories or the development of new skill set, and our blue collars employees should be prepared for that. We are talking about mechatronics or electronics or all this digitalization, what is connected with our automotive industry. We have to be prepared to develop or to find the right people having these skills.
So what you're saying is, again, as you also said beforehand, it's relationship business. So because this is what I heard 3 times, you have to know the people who know the people, and you have to brand with the people who can recruit for you. So it's not you yourself as a company recruiting. That's one thing that is really important. Another point that I heard, which is really important, is obviously you have to be at the source of where your future candidates and future employees come from, which means the professional schools and others. If we talk about professional schools, do you have to go for the training internally, or is it in a way that you're also trying externally to set up new education programs, training programs for blue-collar workers, which are fit for the time we're in, which are fit for your company? Or what is the importance of your internal company training?
We have also an internal training department who is in charge with the development of technical and sales skills for all our employees, and but it is not enough, and therefore we are so interested in this dual education system and programs what you intend to support us, because there is the biggest need for the blue collars workers at Porsche Romania now.
Yeah. I might announce that I have today with me also our project manager for dual education projects with us in the audience. So afterwards, if anyone wants to talk to Christina George, who is with us, I actually wanted to contribute to this discussion with one thing. I had an absolute interesting finding together with my colleague, my deputy, Vera Maya, is much more into social media than I am myself. Maybe it's the 15 years of age difference, maybe it's something else. So we decided in October, when we looked for a new colleague, we decided to go via social media. And we only went via Facebook and LinkedIn because I said I don't want any other results. If we try to hire, and if we advertise via e-jobs or any kind of websites, we get 250 resumes, 250 CVs, and the hit rate is really, really low. If we went in the job that we've looked for in October, which is a highly specific job, and we went via LinkedIn and Facebook, we only got 15 to 20 applications, but 6 people who we could hire immediately. And when we looked for a new position, actually Christina George was with us today, we only looked via LinkedIn and Facebook, and we got only 6 applications, but 4 of those people you could hire immediately. So the rate of finding the people is really interesting. But we have one question coming in. If I may turn the question to you, and Lydia gives us the question one more time on the screen. Raluca, I guess you're the right person to answer the question, which is more or less, how do you communicate to your own employees if someone who was recommended by the employee cannot be hired?
Always a delicate issue to communicate to it goes under the umbrella of bad news or not so pleasant news to communicate. First of all, do communicate. This is very important. Transparency is always the best sales thing for people you want to get into a relationship. Second of all, and really important, is to clarify with the person that recommended the not so fit person your criteria of looking for a person and what was the most important for you, and unfortunately couldn't find the right fit. So in a delicate manner, communicating transparently the criteria that you took into consideration as an employer and why the person wasn't a good fit would do the trick, and most cases the person would understand your argumentation.
Thank you very much for that. So coming closer to an end, is there a question we would take from the live audience right now, which I have to rephrase for our webinar viewers? If not, because we're gonna have a separate session, just to let you know everybody on the internet connection right now, we will have a second set of Q&A session, and we will address those questions afterwards. So as we understand, it's getting more and more important to have employer branding, but one question that we and with Ms. Simona Arbolescu from Porsche Romania and from Chapter 4, Luca Ine, which we discussed already in the run-up to this panel discussion, is actually, it's about something soft skills, it's about something that you build up. Can you measure it? Did you measure it? And do you have success with employer branding?
What I can tell you from my client Ixia, because they're the first ones to tell, is that the two things really happened. The recruitment got faster, more quality-wise, and the retention rate improved a lot. So yeah, you can measure it by those factors depending on your targets in terms of human resources. Then yes, it can be measured, but I must admit that it's more of a qualitative thing to have, and it shows its results in many ways, not only in human resources attraction and retention, but also as a brand, for the brand as a whole.
Thank you very much. Ms. Simona Arbolescu, maybe I'll hand it over to you. Do you have results which can be measured? Do you have results that you see with your employer branding, with the relationship management that you're doing, positive impacts on human resource topics with Porsche Romania?
Yeah, and we have, our results are actually that we can fill all our open position very quick using all these channels. Actually, I believe we have to use in these days, in modern ways, a blended approach to recruitment and talent management, also traditional methods combined with social media. And yes, we using also, this is a subject where we have potential for improvement, but also now Porsche is a powerful brand, and all our open positions are really quick
So you're in a not a lucky position, but you're in a managed position actually. So you've done a lot of work for it, and it shows results. I pointed at someone in the audience right before, if I may be so bold, and if I might invite Octavian Radu from Hervis, Romania. The only thing that if you give an answer, you might have to come closer to us. Maybe I can ask you for 1 minute to come to us. Octavian Radu is with Hervis Romania, and we had a lot of questions coming in about blue-collar workers. Thanks very much for being so kind to come in here right now. We had a lot of questions about blue-collar workers. Can you give us a quick insight into how is it to recruit your sales staff that you need with Hervis Romania, your staff in the warehouse? So is there any kind of specifics that you have with blue-collar workers?
Yeah, it's quite hard, and it's becoming harder and harder because there are a lot of job offers at this level. Salaries are not quite high, and for most of companies, they lack a clear career path and, of course, employer branding. This is our main problem that we are having in the last years, but we are starting slowly to have a problem also with fluctuation within our headquarters, and I think this is a problem that we didn't even know we had it, and probably will hit us quite hard in the next years. So that's why I'm glad to be here, because one of the topics that we didn't discuss, or what's very interesting for me and what I felt as a job applicant, because I had some recruitment process with Target. It's very sensitive in Romania. It's work-life balance for each position, and especially for managers, because I feel that in Romania we still have a level of measuring our level of work on hours spent at the office and not the quality of work. So for blue collar and white collar, I think that the hours and the fact that employers don't promote a work-life balance, it's a big problem. And yeah.
Can I just give you another question about the blue collar workers? What are your most successful channels to hire blue collar workers?
Our most successful channels are yet the cheapest ones, and we still are using ads on the internet on classical sites. We have two main sites in Romania, Best Jobs and eJobs, and we select that. And of course, the problem is the same. In Sibiu, for an ad, we have maybe 10 applicants, and in Bukarest, we have 100. This could be okay, but after you made an initial selection from 100 applicants, you remain with 10. From those 10, you have maybe 3 that will come to the interview, and accepting the offer maybe just 1.
So the relationship management, as we heard it before from every side, is not that important with blue-collar workers. It's more important that you advertise via the classical channels?
I don't know if it's more important, but it's easier for us. And sometimes we don't choose the correct path, but we choose the easier one. So we are interested in developing and knowing more, but for now we are doing it the old-fashioned way and the easy way.
All right. Thank you very much for your guest appearance here. Thanks very much. We might switch over this place now to Jana Jauju. Thanks very much. Joanna. Might be the easiest way now to come in this way. So just to introduce Oana Jauju, she's with Academia de Studii Economice in Bukarest. It's the economic university in Bucharest, which has a German language study program. And Ioana is actually an assistant professor there, and she's responsible for the international relations. We already had some discussions. We had presentations to the students here, also in this room. And you agreed to give us a short insight into what options employers do have to also do some employer branding and to find some recruits, also to find some candidates and potential employees together with ASE. If I may ask you for a quick presentation, we also talked about a keynote presentation from your side.
Thank you very much for having us here. And so actually my presentation will come as a sum up of all of that we've discussed. So I'm glad we're on the same page, more or less. Basically, what I understood from you, that the main problem now is that on one side is identifying talent and how we should do that nowadays, and on the other hand, on retaining them and keeping them interested in our organization for a longer time, because obviously the costs of always changing are higher. So what I've thought of was, on one hand, on our experience with students, is that they are very interested in getting to know the company more personally and authentically, as you said. So sharing your insights, your projects with them, and getting them inside and getting for them to know you more closely is very important. Most of them, especially in the first year of university, never had the chance to walk into a big company or a smaller company, so they don't know what to expect. And all this interaction helps them. And as I will show you further in my presentation, for your valuable employees we want to reward, there are also options to give them, and of course I will play the education card because I'm biased that way. So our approach to this is grow your own future. If you want to have employees who will love you and be inspired by you, grow them and be in their lives as soon as you can. And I realized that on the one hand, you have the blue collar workers, as you said, and that's an approach there, and the white collar employees where you can have another approach, but still in regional communities, being present in their lives makes a big impact. So being present there, you'll get to be an aspirational workplace. Most of the people talk about Apple, as you said at the beginning, as an aspirational workplace, but also a smaller company can become so in a smaller community. Then you need to keep the proportion. What's also important, and I've felt it as a buzzword, especially now, is that employer branding has become more and more about the experience. How does the future employee experience you? Will it be fun? Will they identify with your values? To what respect will they want to be there with you and build up and be a partner to your organization? So in that respect, I've selected a couple of best practices, let's say, which you can focus on and can be fast actions for you. And you can start doing tomorrow if you want to. And some of them are go where your ideal candidates are and be part of their life, and also make valuable employee propositions. So what's in it for them, as you well said. I think it's very important not to also be thinking of this as a selling process. Another important thing is focus on the experience and showcase your high performance. They want to know how your employees are, how can they live, how are their career paths, is this something they want for them? And also, another thing I would like to underline is that establishing a talent community with which you engage throughout the year will also make them interested in your company. And you will get to know them and get to observe how they are, notice their abilities, and I think that makes the selection process even easier. I've selected an example, a success story of our university in this respect. We had last semester on a course with Ernst & Young. They brought their consultants each week to the university. They had master students and bachelor students participate. It was very interesting for them, and they got to cherry pick. And as you see, they 10% of the participants they recruited. And I've talked to the representative yesterday to get the update, and they said that from the 10 that they recruited last semester, now it's the 10%, 7% stayed on the longer term contracts. So that's a really good thing for them, especially because they saw how they were working before actually having a contract with them. Moving forward, how do you keep them? What makes your employees tick, actually? What do they want from you, and how do they stay with you? I found it very interesting in what you were saying, that they come for the image and they live because of the boss. And this comes somehow together with one of the studies issued at the beginning of the year, saying that culture and values in the organization become more and more important, whereas the traditional, if you want, compensation and benefits start to not to be so important anymore. However, this is in the same direction as you said. For the blue-collar workers, this compensation being at the basis of the Maslow pyramid is still important, but as pay rises, non-monetary incentives start to matter more, and this means how leadership is in the company. Are they role models for the other employees? Is the culture fitted for me and useful for me? And also, what career opportunities do I have a place to grow here, and can I grow with you? And this is why, in my personal view, monetary incentives just like that tend to fail, and recognition will win, although most of the time. So when you think about that sensation when you find some money in an old jacket or a purse, you're really happy about it. However, most of the time, half a year later, if I'm asking you, how did you spend it, you will forget. So giving your employees something that they can be proud of and they can showcase, it's fairly more important for them. And in this respect, we also have another two really good success stories with ASE, and this is a tailored executive education program for employees. So we looked at what the company needed and offered a 2-year program with 10 modules where the participants get a certificate, and they have this way a way of growing inside the company on one hand, and this has been going really well, being really tailored for the company's needs on one hand, and on the other hand, we're having our 3 MBA programs for executive education, and I presented here the Romanian-German MBA as being the German-speaking community. And what we've seen here from our experience with the master students, the companies they come from are not always very open in supporting their education. So most of them come here at our program and pay for themselves. And they don't find very much openness from their companies to support this education. And they come here to get further in their career. So I think this is also a theme, and maybe in the Q&A question part of the discussion you can see also the company's side of this. So I'm really glad you heard me out, and I'm looking for hearing your opinions and share your questions with us.
So thank you very much, Ioana Ceaușu from ASE, from the Economic University of Romania, of Bukarest. Actually, thank you very much. I saw the presentation beforehand already, so I'm very happy because you made the wrap-up for all of us, I guess. So you've done a really, really good wrap-up. We will say in a minute goodbye to our viewers from Austria. As I didn't see any questions popping in, I might ask Mr. Versonik for a last and actually to be a very brief statement about employer branding. What is the importance of it? What do you think about it?
Well, I think it's way beyond the brand of a company. So it's not enough to be Mercedes, but you have to have really an authentic, a good leader, and the leadership must transpire into the community, into the social media. So word must get around that this is a cool place to work.
Thank you very much. Raluca Ine, chapter 4, doing employer branding for companies in Romania, doing social media work also for us, for instance, your conclusion?
The main idea before going into employer branding would be to take into consideration the fact that without going out of your ivory tower, before going out, you have to go out from your company outside to the others and speak to them about what you can find inside, because your own actions and your own people are your best ambassadors ever.
Thank you very much. Simona Albulescu, HR Director for Porsche Romania, the company group of Porsche here in Romania with 900 employees. Your sum up, your wrap up?
As I told you before, I believe that a blended approach to these retention and recruitment challenges that we are facing today is the right solution, and maybe and also here, employer branding is one of the most important measures beside others like campus recruitment and effective training and leadership programs, succession planning, or robust contingent workforce. And companies who will manage to meet as much of these issues, they will win the play for good and talented employees.
Thank you very much, Simona Albulescu. Thank you very much, Ioana Ceaușu. If Ioana agrees, we will also give this presentation on our website. So thank you very much to all our viewers from Austria. We also have some viewers from Austrian subsidiaries in Romania, as we understand. Thank you very much to you. Thank you very much for all the questions that you posed to us. And as we already said, the broadcast will be published on YouTube. We will have a YouTube channel, or we do have a YouTube channel about Advantage Austria. And the broadcast will be published there within the next 2 days. And on our website, we will also publish the presentation of Ioana, which was a really, really good wrap-up of our topic today. So thank you very much to all our watchers via the internet, and coming to an end with the webinar. Thanks very much. Goodbye.